So, okay, good. Okay, it's time in. Welcome back. We are Death Awareness Meditation class. I'm not sure which session we're in, but it's November 16, 2023. That's session 4. Let's gather our minds here as we usually do. We'll do our opening prayers and we'll slide into a slow, nice, guided practice of what we know so far, and then some. So bring your attention to your breath until you hear from me again, please. Now bring to mind that being who for you is a manifestation of ultimate love, ultimate compassion, ultimate wisdom. And see them there with you. They are gazing at you with their unconditional love for you, smiling at you with their holy great compassion. Their wisdom radiates from them, that beautiful golden glow encompassing you in its light. And then we hear them say, bring to mind someone you know who is hurting in some way. Think about how much you would like to be able to help them. And recognize how the worldly ways we try are helpful, but they fall short. How wonderful it would be if we could also help them in some deep and ultimate way, a way through which they would go on to stop their distress forever. We are learning that this is possible. And so I invite you to grow this wish into a longing. A longing to learn or know or do what it'll take to help that other in that deep and ultimate way. And still, it seems so impossible. So we turn our attention back to that precious holy being. We know that they know what we need to know. They know what we need to do. They know what we need to learn to become one who can help this other in this deep and ultimate way. And so we ask them, please teach us that. And they are so happy that we've asked. Of course, they agree. Our gratitude arises. We want to offer them something exquisite. And so we think of the perfect world they are teaching us how to create. We imagine we can hold it in our hands, and we offer it to them, following it with our promise to practice what they teach us, using our refuge prayer. Here is the great earth, filled with fragrant incense and covered with a blanket of flowers. The great mountain, four lands, wearing the jewel of the sun and the moon. In my mind, I make them the paradise of a Buddha and offer it all to you. By this deed, may every living being experience the pure world. Idam Guru Ratna Mandala Kaunirya Tayami. I go for refuge until I am enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the highest community. Through the merit that I do in sharing this session and the rest, may I reach Buddhahood for the sake of every living being. I go for refuge until I am enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the highest community. Through the merit that I do in sharing this session and the rest, may we reach Buddhahood for the sake of every living being. I go for refuge until I am enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the highest community. Through the merit that I do in sharing this session and the rest, may all beings reach their total awakening for the benefit of every other. So bring your attention back to your breath. In order to settle in, let your exhales settle your physical body solidly into relaxation. And your inhales brighten your mental body. You're awareing to a state of alert eagerness. very, very present. Now let's recall our refuge. Whatever understanding of emptiness and karma you have, it inspires you to choose your behavior choices more carefully. The understanding of the connection between our experiences and our choices of behavior empowers us. And a nice death meditation then helps motivate us to be more careful in how we spend our time. Choosing things we consider more meaningful. And how that process is, in fact, protection from future suffering, future distress. And understanding that for ourselves, we also understand that it's true for everyone. Wouldn't it be amazing if everyone in my world understood that same thing, at least well enough to be trying to plant seeds for a happy future for everyone? Think about how happy you feel when you've seen yourself make someone else happy. Think of how being happy around others seems to help others be a little happier. And think about your own level of happiness now. And certainly there's room for more happiness, isn't there? And then turn your attention again to that holy, precious being before you, whoever, whatever they look like today. See them seated there facing you. They're actually a little bit higher than you. And think of some good quality that you see in them. Whatever little bit that you yourself perceive, grow it and think from their side, they have that quality perfectly. And knowing that they had to think, do, and say things to make the causes for that good quality that they see in themselves, that we don't actually see, but we think we are seeing. We think of that good quality and think of how wonderful it would be if you yourself had that quality and could help or uplift others in the way that this being seems to do for others in my world. Admire what you see in them. And aspire to grow it within yourself. And then out of your admiration for them, make them a beautiful offering. The scripture says it can be something you own or something no one owns. But even better, offer them something that you did or said or thought or even planned to do that shows them that you are trying to put these teachings into practice. Something you didn't say that you ordinarily would have said, because you just knew you didn't want to replant that seed. No matter how puny that effort seemed to be to you, when you tell them about it, they act like the mom with the kindergartner who shows her the weird looking little ashtray that they made out of clay. And it's the most beautiful thing she's ever seen. They fuss over you. And then with equal openness and admiration to them, tell them of some mistake that you made. Something specific, something recent. maybe it was even just the thought to say that thing that you didn't end up saying. Hooray. Admit some negativity. Think of the other similar seeds for that negativity. Replay the video with that precious being watching. And feel a sense of just simple regret, not judgment about yourself. Just, I realize I replanted seeds that will hurt me and others in the future. And that's just not acceptable to let those seeds flow on. That regret damages them. Offer this meditation and this class as your antidote. And make some kind of determination to catch that negative thought sooner and stop it with your emptiness understanding. And follow that with a rejoicing, another offering of some goodness that you saw yourself do. Some goodness you saw someone else do. Some goodness that you saw recorded through whatever our avenue of learning about news. Find some goodness that was reported somewhere. And tell this precious being about those things. They are seeing how those goodnesses are coming out of you, not just you're telling them about it, but how you in fact made them in the past. And they're so happy with you. We can't yet see things like that. And so we ask them again to please continue to teach us both formal classroom teachings and to teach us in those day-to-day experiences that we have through apparently other people, other circumstances. That gives us the opportunity to try their teachings on for size. Give them permission to appear to you in that way, too. Isn't it possible that those people in your world that are the most challenging could in fact be this precious holy angel guide appearing in those different ways so that we can learn to respond differently? How else would we recognize our own pride, our own jealousy, our own stinginess, our own laziness, whatever your current specialty? Their job is to show us and to help us and to inspire us. And then ask for them, in whatever form they take, to stay close and to live long and healthy lives. We ask for long and healthy lives of those people around us who inspire us to be better people. We ask for the long life of the Holy Dharma. And for our own long and healthy life, so that we can use it to help and inspire others. And then dedicate just these preliminaries so far to seeing some shift in the behavior choices of someone you know. A shift towards kindness. And then return your attention to your breath. Shift and wiggle if you feel the need. And then settle back in. Use your focused attention on your breath. To settle your body again. To brighten your attention again. To grow in eagerness. To hear something different. To see something differently. To feel something differently. To gain a little more insight. And so we'll step into the death awareness practice, starting with the problems of not meditating on death. Finding yourself having just stepped out of that forest, struggling against others to get what you want. Feeling life as we lead it before we've met the Dharma much, before we have a keen death awareness. thinking this is just what life's all about. Then looking ahead to the benefits of a proper death awareness practice. Your renunciation come about through the frustration of all the struggle, and you break free. And you move to the bridge across the moat, pausing again to see if there's anything more that you're ready to divest yourself of, to separate yourself from. Something that takes up your time, something that takes up your strength, something that uses your thoughts, your emotions, your resources in a way that doesn't serve anyone. Be as specific as you can. Even maybe a belief that no longer serves you. Find something in your backpack that represents it. And maybe not tonight, but when you're really ready, good riddance to that belief. The benefits of a proper death awareness is those decisions become easy. Not meaning dump it all, but willingly, intentionally ready to allow ourselves to change. We look from there to recall that we won't do a wrong kind of death awareness practice, the one that would leave us practicing the scary kind of death. And that was represented by the gauntlet of scary guys, that by understanding that's not what we're practicing, poof, you pass right by them. And you're in that beautiful meadow of the right kind of death meditation practice, where you're feeling joyful and unencumbered, eager and light. And you find yourself at the entry to the building leading to your own enlightened self. And you think of that first principle of a proper death awareness practice. My death is certain. And with that, the door swings open. You step in to that darkish room to the right, representing the first principle of my death is certain, is that snarling beast, fortunately still chained to the wall. The Lord of Death is unstoppable. My own karma is unstoppable. I don't know when that beast will get free. second principle, and my time of my life is so swiftly passing. The hourglass with the sands flowing through. We can't add sand, we can't turn it over and start again in this life. And then the corridor of teachings where we're compelled to rush. That third principle of my death is certain. We never have enough time to finish anything. We never have time to really internalize anything, it seems. Somehow bringing us to this conviction. My death is certain. And we reach that red door of the second principle. The time of my death is uncertain. And with that thought, the red door swings open. You find yourself in that triangular room at the apex with that garbage can with the number 72 crossed out to remind ourselves that in this world, our world, lifespans are not fixed. In case we thought they were. In case we thought our own was somehow, even in a world where the people we know, theirs aren't apparently. That even as we know intellectually, my lifespan's not fixed, we still assume that I have tomorrow, I have next year. We're already making our plans for the 2024 schedule. I don't know what my own lifespan is. Look further into that room. The second reasoning for the time of my death is uncertain is that so much can kill us and so little keeps us alive. All those things that we've worked so hard to get and keep, any one of them could be the agent of the end of this life. Can we possibly know? Being in this room, it can be like being in a dream. Your car's in your living room, and it's no big deal. Is my car going to be the agent? Is the quilt on my bed going to be the agent? Is my own phone going to be the agent? Then look on the kitchen counter, you see a piece of pizza. Pizza. Is that going to be the agent? Intending to give us this sense of uncertainty. Why would holy beings do that? And as we move on through the room, we catch a sliver in our foot. Ouch. And when we pull it out, we see a little blood come out. And we think, oh man, that could have introduced one of those bacteria that doesn't respond to antibiotics in such a tiny thing. Could kill this body that's so strong. Our bodies are so fragile. No wonder the time of my death is uncertain. And we come to the red door of the third principle. When I die, nothing but the Dharma can help me. When I die, nothing but my Dharma practice can help me. And as we step into this section, it's like we're within a greenhouse. And at that first entry, we see our loved ones outside on either side. They are enjoying each other. And we're trying to get their attention. And they seem to be ignoring us. Try pounding on the glass. No response. Try jumping up and down. No response. How does it feel to be ignored? To be left behind? After all we did for them? When I die, none of my people can help me. Move a little further along this corridor and you see all your belongings out there. But now they're sort of scattered about. And strangers are looking through them. They pick up something you really, really like, and then they just throw it away. Wait. That's important. Get out of my stuff. I took care of that stuff. Take care of it. Imagine what it would be like to still have attachment to our material things and go through this very brief period of time where we're aware of them and can't get at them. Even the stuff feels like they are betraying us. When I die, not an atom of my material things can help me. We go on, we see that dead body a little ahead. It's looking only vaguely familiar. And as we get up close, and as we gaze at the face, we know it's our face, but in fact, it's blurred or undistinguishable. And as you gaze at this dead body, you're trying to think of your own self, and you're just losing. You can't really remember who you were, what you were like. It's all fading away like a dream, and yet there's a you that's going on. When I die, not even my body can help me. In fact, it's the worst of the betrayals. It's the one that killed me. My people didn't help me. My stuff didn't help me. My body didn't help me, and yet I'm not gone. There's a next moment after the last moment of this life. Something still goes on. An awareness, me other. And what is going on is the ripening of our karmic seeds. Karmic seeds keep ripening. Karmic seeds keep getting planted. When I die, nothing but the Dharma helps me, because the Dharma was what taught me about making mental seeds, about the behavior that plants seeds in my mind, that when those seeds ripen will be pleasant experiences, and what kinds of behaviors plant seeds that when that ripen is unpleasant experiences. The Dharma guided me, taught me, gave me instruction. I didn't have to figure it out myself. All I had to do was try to live according to it. My people didn't teach me that. My stuff didn't teach me that. My own body didn't teach me that. But what goes on with me are the seeds I planted in my mind as I tried to take care of those other people. A lot of good seeds made, but also seeds where we were willing to harm another to protect our loved ones. And we take that karma with us, even when the ones we protected can't go with us, can't help us. Our things. We made karma to get those things, to keep those things, to protect those things. Those seeds go with it. The stuff does not. Our own bodies. We plant seeds to take care of them, to protect them. Good seeds and not so good seeds. All those seeds go on with us. The body does not. The body leaves us high and dry on our own, just with those seeds. When I die, nothing but the Dharma protects me. Not in the moment, but by way of how it has influenced our behavior. Because all of the results of that behavior influences your next lives. So you find yourself standing at a white door, like opalescent white. It's very beautiful. And you've been thinking of all of this. You're not you, your personality anymore so much. But you are definitely a you, a self. And you're thinking of these three principles of death awareness. My death is certain. The time of my death is uncertain. When I die, nothing but my Dharma helps me. And we see on this white door, the letters appear. 3 resolutions. Meaning 3 resolutions that you can make when you are ready. The resolutions in your own mind that come from understanding the ramifications of these 3 principles. And so the door swings open. As you step in, you find yourself in this turret-like room. It's circular and dimly lit. Up high are windows around it. And from in front of you, sunlight is streaming in those high windows at such an angle that it makes a spot of sunlight in the middle of the floor. The spot of sunlight is about the diameter of the width of your body, shoulder width. And you see on the wall to your left, hanging on the wall, is this staff, like a walking stick. Tall, it's a bit taller than you are. And you look at it and you have the impulse to reach up and take it off the wall. And as you do, and you take the handle, the fit feels so special in your hand. It feels familiar and perfectly weighted to your own hand. And as you take up this staff, the thought occurs to you, if it's sure that I'm going to die, then I decide to start a spiritual practice. Now, I'm going to start a spiritual practice. And so our staff, it feels familiar, feels nice, represents this decision. Then take one step forward towards the sunspot in the middle. Don't reach it yet. As you step toward it, you think, if I don't know when I'm going to die, then I must start my spiritual practices now, today. And when we finish that thought, we wrap our staff on the stone floor. You hear it go, kaboom, like the Netflix. Making this imprint in our heart. My death is certain, so I'll take up my spiritual practice, and I don't know when, so I'm going to start now. And then we look to that sunlight in the center of the floor ahead of us. And we think, well, if nothing but my spiritual life can help me, then I'm going to devote myself to my spiritual practices. And step with your left foot into the middle of that sunlight. And look up to the windows that sunlight's pouring in. And feel that sunlight of wisdom shining onto your body. filling you with the strength and the determination to follow this impulse, to take up your spiritual life, to do it today, and to grow it into your first priority, whatever that's going to mean. And then as you think about it further, and you think about the people in your life who appear to you to have no interest in all of this, you love them so dearly, you want them to have the results of all of this, but they won't even engage conversation. Look into that sunlight. Raise your staff and point it to the sunlight. And think to yourself, there's no time to horse around here. If I'm going to devote myself to my spiritual practice, I want the highest spiritual practice. I don't want to waste my time on lesser practices. And as you're pointing into that sunlight, something tells you to look to your right. And you see there on the turret room wall, suddenly there's this beautiful, shimmering peacock blue door. And the lettering on that blue door says, the highest spiritual practices. And so take your staff and point it to that blue door. And feel a determination. If I'm going to start my spiritual practice because my death is certain, and I'm going to start it now because I don't know when that certainty will happen. And I want to devote solely to my spiritual life, then I want the highest spiritual life, knowing that only my spiritual life can help me, let alone others, at the moment of death. I want what's behind that blue door. So stand there thinking about it, feeling about it. Recognize that maybe there's a certain amount of hesitancy or doubt or fear. And there's a certain amount of curiosity and maybe even a certain amount of determination regardless. Accept all of those thoughts, those feelings. Let it all percolate. And imagine from that spot in the sun looking at the blue door, you can also see back through your journey of this death awareness practice. All the way back to the you before you even met the Dharma. And see how far you've come. And then leave some part of you there in the sunlight looking at the blue door. And bring some part of you back to awareness of yourself in your room right now. Don't open your eyes yet. Be aware of that precious holy being. See how happy they are with you. Offer them this goodness that we've done. Ask them to please stay close to you and to continue to inspire you. And tell them that you'll use what they teach you to help that one other get free of their pain. And so let's leave that holy being before you for now. Bring your focus of attention back to this physical body in this physical room. When you're ready, open your eyes, take a deep breath, a nice stretch. Get up and move around if you need to. We'll take a little break. So that was 40 minutes with the preliminaries. You did great. Right? Not so hard when we're engaged to stay still and focused. I'm going to pause the recording here. Pause recording. Pause recording. So for your personal practice, you don't need to go so slowly through all of it. Right? If you've got a day where you've got time to do, it's nice to do. But, you can go the first 3 and jump to the yellow door, but don't just disregard them. Think, man, I used to struggle and then I got a little free and I've been doing the thing over the moat. I'm getting a little bit looser about stuff. I've danced across right now I'm at my death is certain. Do I really believe it? Is it scary or is it empowering? Right? So you're going to use this yourself, I hope, to really get beyond the 9 steps, etc. Well, you'll explore it a little bit deeper. And then you'll find that you don't really have to spend any time at all in the my death is certain room because you're pretty convinced. And then you get to the, the time of my death is not certain, which we all already know, but we don't live it day to day because we have some expectation. And so you might spend a little time in that room, we say, but whatever reasoning that you need to apply, the 3 classical ones can get us started. But find what works for you. And then you would spend some time when you're ready in the nothing but the Dharma helps me. And maybe you go through the 3, my people, my stuff, my body, and that gets old. But there's so much to explore about how and why is it that nothing but the Dharma helps me? And how does it really help me? If we die with a Dharma book in our hand, we don't go to the hell realm? No, right? It's not that. Can the beloved Lama be there with us and, put their hand on our heart and we get 10 more years? No, right? Can they say prayers for us? Yes, but how do we know that's really going to help? right? So it takes more than just hearing me talk the rationalizations through to really get them into a sense of what it means to devote ourselves to a spiritual life. When I first was taught this practice, the thought of devoting myself to my spiritual life, I wanted to do it. And I had this whole different idea of what it meant. And now looking back, I don't know, part of me now goes, well, I didn't really have to give up that beautiful house in the foothills. And I didn't really have to, I didn't really have to do this. I didn't really have to do that, because now I see, right, that it was all a state of mind. It was all a belief system that I was needing to learn to live by. But then I recognized that if I hadn't given those up when I had the impulse to do so, I wouldn't have likely made the progress that I made to come to the conclusion that you don't have to give all that stuff up. I did. But it doesn't mean everybody needs to. But if we're feeling like that beautiful house in the foothills is now a burden, which is how it became for us, it was like, of course we wanted to give it to someone for whom it was not a burden. And that allowed us to build a home at Diamond Mountain, right? With the proceeds from it, we built at Diamond Mountain and were able to live there for a few years. Whereas if we had kept the house, we would have had to keep working to be able to keep the mortgage up, right? So it was like that path was right for us. The path isn't about giving everything up. The path is realizing when things become burdens and being willing to into the moat when it's a burden to us. And yet it's so common to resist allowing something that we used to really, really love to shift. Yeah, we say, no, I have to love it forever, or else my love for it was somehow wrong. And it wasn't. At the time that we had that big, beautiful house and property, it was perfect for us. And then we changed. And if we don't allow ourselves to change, we end up, right, burdened old people with a beautiful house in the foothills that we now hate. And we don't want to get to that. And so a lot of stepping onto our spiritual path is this willingness to change ourselves, that, maybe the people around us are not so happy about. And so our circumstances can change. Our people may or may not change with us. All depends on our own seeds, which is why we say nothing but the Dharma helps us, because it gives us the guidelines and the advices for how do we deal with that. It's not saying everybody needs to become a monk and a nun and give up everything and go live by begging. It's not saying that at all, especially on the Mahayana path. And yet it can sound like that. Oh, I'm going to devote myself to my spiritual life, which means I cannot be a worldly person anymore. But we've all had these beautiful teachings from Geshe Michael that shows us that the best Dharma laboratory is a work environment and a home life. So to go live under a bridge or out in a forest, come on. That would be a slower practice than to stay right where we are and change our own mind as we interact with these others. Instead of giving them up, interact with them in a different way. And that's what we're talking about. I'm going to devote myself to that. And so I want the highest one, right? I'm pointing at the blue door, which for me is always over there. So The rest of this evening's class is question and answers that Geshe Michael's original group were asking. And then part of that was, well, then how should we be with someone who's dying? And Ken Rinpoche sat down with Geshe Michael at this time, the first time he taught this course, and he said, okay, it's not really written anywhere, but let's just make a list of this is what they teach us in the monastery about how to serve people who ask us, the monks, to come and attend to someone at the last days, moments of their lives and afterwards. So according to Geshe Michael, this information, it was the first time it was actually presented outside of the monastery, I don't know for sure, because since then it's been disseminated, through all of the ACI people who have taken this course. So it's part of your reading, this list of how to be with someone who's dying. So we'll go through it if I stop chattering away about it. So let me get to the Q&As first. So one of the questions you guys have already asked it, how do we help people who reject or deny their death? How do we help people who really aren't interested in any of this and they just don't want to talk about dying at all? Rinpoche said, well, don't talk about dying with them, but do get them to review their lives and get them to forgive themselves for mistakes they've made. Get them to forgive others. Get them to recognize the regrets in the sense of, like, I wish I'd done that and I'm never going to be able to do it now. Versus the regrets of, I hurt somebody, I'm sorry about that, right? That's part of the forgiving. This other is have them look at the things they never actually did that they really wanted to do. And, help them recognize, well, it just was never the right time, or instead of beating themselves up for it. And then they'll die easier. So one framework of this is, there's somebody and they are chronically ill or terminally ill, and they don't want to talk about it specifically, but they're willing to have you visit them and you guide your chitter chatter conversation with them. Just tell me about your life, and get them to talk about themselves, which is easier some for others. But often people want to tell you about themselves, and we're taught not to. It's not impolite to just talk about yourself. But if we're invited to, out it comes. And then as the listener, a skilled listener, you guide them towards, are there things that you wish you'd done and you never did? Tell me about those. Did things happen to you that, you were blaming other people and you feel like you never resolved it? And then Rinpoche didn't mention, but I'm going to add, also get them to tell you the good stuff, because they're not likely going to do that by themselves. Something about us says you don't brag on yourself even when you want to. But you, the listener, can say, well, tell me, I don't know how you say it. Don't say, tell me the good stuff about you, because it implies they just told you all the bad stuff. But, who are you close to? What kinds of things did you do together? And you'll get out from them ways that they actually helped other people. And then our opportunity as the listener is to say, wow, that's so cool. That's all. Wow, that's so cool. Because they hear that and they go, well, maybe that was cool. Right? They're planting seeds. And you're helping them plant these good seeds, adding to goodness, that whenever they die, whether it's 20 years from them or 20 minutes from then, you've changed their experience. So not so hard, right? Easier to do with someone who has a spiritual life, a Dharma life, but not hard to do with anybody, because you're not saying you're going to die soon, and you don't know when. You're just saying, well, tell me about yourself. Okay. So how do you help someone who has no awareness or understanding of the mind going on? So in our modern world, there are many, I think, who truly believe when the body stops, the being stops. And then there are others who, believe that there's a soul or something that goes on. Really, what we're talking about here is the person who believes that when you're dead, you're dead. Which maybe they are very, very happy with that belief. And why rock the boat, Really, it's not our job to say to them, that's mistaken, you're going to go on. We want to, of course, but that's not really our job. If they're asking about it, then we have a window of opportunity. And we can say, well, if your car dies, if you're driving your car and your car all of a sudden, whatever they do, the way they just die, do you, the driver, die? And of course, they're going to go, no. And, if you're riding a horse, you're the rider of the horse, and the poor horse drops dead, do you die? Well, no, of course not. Well, are you so much your body that when your body dies, you're going to die too? And they're going to go, what do you mean? Of course. And then where would you go from there? It's like, oh, so your awareness is your brain? Like, how does something so physical as a, gooey, massive stuff that looks like cauliflower with lots of little wires inside that looks like fiber optics, how does that become love, the feeling of love? Like, is it this sparkle and that sparkle and that sparkle and that sparkle and that's love? And it's like, there probably we won't have an answer to that. And probably they'll go, yeah, but still, when my body's dead, I'll be dead too. No need to fight with them. Just that little bit of directed wondering is planting seeds. And then you still encourage them to share with you their life story and their negativities and their positivities, and encourage them to focus on the way they've helped others. And then it doesn't really matter whether they believe their mind stream goes on or not. We'll have planted seeds for clearing out the negativity and being happy with their goodnesses. And if we're close enough to them to see them more than once, we can do that again. Tell me, right? Tell me what you've done in the last 2 weeks. And the tendency is to go, I didn't do anything special, or, And how do you ask somebody, tell me how you help somebody, right? Without saying it like that. I haven't actually figured out a way. I say that to people who know me, but otherwise I don't. Tell me how you help somebody. Because if I know how you've helped somebody, when you get in trouble, then I have something to rejoice about. Well, Sheila's having trouble, but I know about the time she told me when she helped so-and-so in this such and such a way. I can rejoice for that and send my seeds to seeing her get better. Share me some acts of kindness you are a part of. That's nice. Share with me some acts of kindness you were a part of that touched you deeply. Beautiful, Tracy. We all get to use that. Okay. Geshe-la often says, we can ask people, what kinds of things have you done that really seem to make you happy? And so often, the story you'll get is some way in which that person helped another. You know, it's not so much, well, you know, I surfed this big wave in Hawaii and I was so happy. Maybe we'll get that. But tell me more. Well, there was this time I just, out of a whim, you know, bought lunch for a homeless person. And you know what? That just made me feel so much happier than any success at work. And they're not really going to say that to somebody who doesn't ask. Tell me what kind of kindness you were involved in that touched you deeply. That was beautiful. Okay. Geshe-la used that question about does the mind go on to talk to his group about this ongoing nature of our own mind stream and how our awareness is part of every seed ripening. We have a tendency to think there's me and my mind, and I've got this, you know, ball full of karmic seeds that are spewing out of me that make my experience. But our me and our very mind is part of every seed that's popping out. So with every seed that pops, there's the me and my awareness and the other and the experience between. And it goes and it goes again and it goes again and it goes again. And with each one ripening, there's a slew of plantings. And the ones that have been planted carry along as the ones that ripen. And the ones that are carrying along are multiplying. So we are never going to run out. We will run out of seeds for this life. But the instant the last seed for this life ripens, there'll be a next instant of 65 more of still awareness of a me and an other. Different. It seems like they're the same for 70 years, but they're not either, are they? Different. Some kind of continuity that's in those that finally gives way. But it's not like there's a pause and the seeds stop ripening ever for an instant. And the awareness is the process happening of seeds planted, seeds ripening. So there can never be a moment of no awareing happening. So from the last moment of one life to the next moment, which we call Bardo, to the next moment of Bardo, one of those is going to be the next first moment of the next life, which for it to be a human life will be the first moment of in a womb. But it's not like there's a fetus there and a womb there waiting for a mind stream to get stuffed into it, to be stuffed into it. It's all this ripening. Yeah, so Tracy asked, what if you actually kala danda, right? Which is like stop death. A transformation happens. The same process is still happening of ripenings, plantings. What they mean by kala danda is that instead of that sequence of ripenings that we ordinarily call coming to the end of this life and then moving into Bardo, what is ripening is this transformation of this, what we call our physical being and our mental being. So the end of death does not mean this lasts forever. Thank God. It means this gets transformed. My perception is it transforms from flesh and blood to light and sound. And the limitation of this gets transformed into no limitation at all. Transformed into what are called the five wisdoms. So it's transformation, it's not end. But it is end, right? Because it's the end of me, mind, physical body. But you don't go through what you call death to get there. You go through transformation to get there. That's what they mean by kala danda. So our mind stream does go on. It has no first moment, but it does have causes for every moment. And because it has no nature of its own, its nature is part of every ripening seed. It is infinitely changeable, which means it can be changed from a mind that perceives itself as ignorant to a mind that perceives itself as omniscient. And we know that the causes for that is that infinite love, compassion. And without that infinite love, compassion, we don't reach the result of omniscience. Okay. I'm checking my notes here. Someone asked about intention, karma and intention. Oh my gosh, was that a frog I just saw? The karma, we understand that a karmic imprint is complete at the conclusion of our action that we're doing. So if we use a physical object, does anyone have a pen? I have one. And then as we let go and we see them have it, that's when the seed is full, like fully planted, like the little tomato seeds got the dirt over it. But then our sense of completion. Yeah, I shared my pen. I'm glad I did. That's what prepares the little seed, right, to be strong enough to carry on. If in that moment we have some kind of regret, oh man, I wish I hadn't given my favorite pen away. Maybe I'll never get it back. That changes the imprint. If we actually have done a negative thing and we regret, it's like, oh man, I wish I hadn't had that negative thought about what I just did. I wish I hadn't done what I just did because it was negative in some way. That negativity damages that little seed. So swift regret and swift happiness for a goodness really help influence the power of the seed that's just planted. The other thing that influences the information inside the seed is the intention within which we did our deed. So mostly, we don't really have a very high or clear intention as we go about our day interacting with other people. When we have our high intention, right? When they teach 4 steps, have that high intention that when I do this for another, my intention is that everybody in the world will learn how to live by seeds so that everybody can reach happiness as I'm giving them the pen. Then all of that intention is included, the little seed in the seed of my giving the pen. Now it's a different seed than the one, anybody have a pen? I do here. Versus, anybody have a pen? I do. Oh my gosh, I have a chance, right? About seeds with intention. So it changes. Having a high intention is included in the seed. So now the seed's a bit different, isn't it? If our high intention is bodhicitta, which means I want to reach my total enlightenment for the sake of everybody reaching their total enlightenment, now that's in that little seed, just by having it in our awareness, right? So intention is a big piece. Our human worldly intentions are usually not so clear or not so kind. Right? Our intention may be, I need to teach them a lesson, or I'm getting back at them, or, right? I mean, they're very subtle, our intention, usually. So intention is a big piece of learning to manage our karma, right? Because it colors that seed so strongly. Geshe-la says that's partly why to have projections of being human is such a goodness, because as humans, we have the capacity, excuse me, to learn about the power of intentions and to choose to apply the power of intention. Not all existing beings have that capacity of self-awareness and self-choice to change our self-awareness. It's unique to humans. And so again, a reason a powerful death awareness is useful is because just because we got a human birth once, there's no guarantee that we've done sufficient goodness that we can be sure we'll get another one next life. Now, there is a point of understanding karma and emptiness beyond which you will not get a lower rebirth. But it is still possible that you could get jealous God or pleasure being rebirth, and that would not be conducive to furthering your spiritual path. If we have to have another rebirth, we want a human one, thank you very much. So to work with our intentions, not meaning I intend to do everything so I can get a human rebirth, but to have as our intention, our bodhicitta, as clear as we can, will help us ensure, at the very minimum, a human rebirth. When we took our bodhisattva vows, we also got those 6 black and white deeds, and avoiding the 6 black deeds and cultivating the 6 white deeds are specific behaviors that help to ensure that in whatever our next life will be connected to our bodhisattva vows. Because bodhisattva vows go on, right? So we want to do something that will help us reconnect to our bodhisattva vows pretty early in life if we don't succeed in this life in reaching Buddhahood. And those 6 black and white deeds are the key to that. And I'll just let you work on those. How am I doing? Oh, I have to get to Ken Rinpoche's dying help. Let's go by that one. Yeah, let's go there now. Let me find it. Okay. Okay, so here's the oral transmission from Holy Ken Rinpoche, Lobsang Tarchen, about what a Buddhist can do when a person is dying. So now already our little outline needs to split, because maybe the person who's dying is a Dharma practitioner. Maybe they're a spiritual practitioner in their own right, with their own belief system. And maybe they're a person or a being with no concept that we're aware of about them going on at all. So if we are the one in attendance with a person that we know has a Dharma practice, particularly if it's similar to ours, then we can use that common theme to help guide them in their what to help them keep their mind focused on as they're going through their experience. So now we're not their bedside caregiver. We're the friend who comes in, to spend some time with them, like the hospice volunteer, for instance. And we're going to be there with them to give comfort, not to tell them what to do, not to, teach them, but to guide their conversation so that they can hear themselves clear out negativities, rejoice in their goodnesses. So as a spiritual practitioner, they'll know what you're doing as you're encouraging to do that, and hopefully they'll cooperate with you. If they have a mantra practice, use their mantra for them so that they can hear it. If they have a Diamond Way practice and you can find a recording of it, play the recording for them to hear if they don't have the strength to do it. Help their mind stay calm, comfortable, and directed towards thoughts of the Dharma, whatever that means. If you're there close to them, do it in a whisper, do it verbally. If you're not close to them, do it mentally, right? It's maybe more powerful mentally from a distance than right there with them. It does work both ways. They say if you can keep the room that they're in, the ambiance really calm and beautiful. Geshe-la said, like the ambiance of a fine restaurant. The light's a little dimmed, candlelight, although you wouldn't have candlelight, but, some light there, a little low music in the background necessarily, but calm and comfortable and mellow. We understand that what's on the mind at the moment of death determines the circumstances of the next rebirth. Now, the thing is, though, the moment of death is not when the body stops breathing or the heart stops beating or even the brain stops functioning. That's the Western medicine determination of death, but that's not the moment of the karmic seed ripening that we're talking about. There's some span of time from the outer person's perspective before the mind actually leaves the body. What that mind is experiencing is completely different. It's not like, oh, I'm hanging out in a dead body and I can't get out. But what's happening in that experience, we see from the outside as the body's dead, but we don't have any indication that the mind has left it yet. So the indication that the mind has left the body is that these very subtle fluids drip out of the body. And so it looks just like snot. It's not snot, but something leaks from the nostrils, something leaks from the urethras, sometimes even from the anus. It's not stool, it's not urine. That's already long gone. It's something else. And, you know, Western medicine, I haven't seen anything in Western medicine or mortuary where they've ever said, what is that stuff? But in our tradition, it's like, that's the indication that the mind has fully exited. And until that mind has fully exited, there are still karmic seeds ripening, but they haven't gotten to the point where the projecting karma has gone off until the mind leaves. And the leaving of the mind, from our perspective, is that projecting karma that is going to color it into its whole next life. So from that moment of projecting karma, that being is in the state we call bardo, which just means in between. And it means it's in between the end of that body and the birth of the next one. And it takes up to 7 cycles for that mind's karma, from having ripened the projecting karma to having filled in the details of that projecting karma, such that its perception of itself is its next rebirth, which is, in human terms, the instant the egg and sperm touch. So from that mind's perspective, we're told it's when it finds itself trapped in a womb, although I think if you were to ask it, it wouldn't be saying, I'm trapped in a womb. But whatever its experience is, we describe as it's now trapped in a womb, which we'll learn more about in future ACI courses. But so from human perspective, the Bardo cycles take 7 human days. So every 7 human days, that being who has left their life, that life, dies in the Bardo. And each of those 7 days, they have opportunity to reach their rebirth, whatever it's going to be. If they do within the first 7 days, boom, there's no more Bardo for them. They have another 7 and another 7 until by the end of the 7, they are reborn. I don't know why 7 sevens, but it turns out to be that 49-day thing that we learn about. So when the monks are doing prayers, they do prayers on the day of death. They do prayers at the 7th day, because it's like each one of those death and rebirth in the Bardo, they're the closest that they could shift something. And then I guess they leave them go for the next 5. And at the 49th day, they do prayers to help direct them into a rebirth. So typically, if one were to ask for prayers, you need to have your ducks in a row so the prayers can start on day 1 of death, repeat on 7, and then repeat on 49 just in case that the being hasn't made it somewhere by that time. So back to being with the dying person who's a Dharma practitioner, you try to guide their mind to be thinking of goodness, to have cleared out its negativity, and holding in its mind its Dharma practice as it's going through this experience of the dissolutions. Then once the breathing in and heart has stopped, if you cannot touch the body, have no one touch the body until you see these liquids drip. You give the body, the mind, the opportunity to leave, on its own accord, which is, that's the best way to go. In our world, they say that can take anywhere from a few hours to a few days, up to a week. Like there's nobody that keeps their dead ones in their home or in their hospital for a week waiting for the liquids to go. If I understand properly, the body does not start to decay until the liquids go. So it's not like it's going to get stinky, but you can't, right? You can't keep a body that long. So they say anywhere the body gets touched, when it's in this time frame of dead body but not gone yet, that the touch, the mind is gonna go to attention there. It's not like, oh, I've been touched, but the attention will go there and then it will get pushed out of the body at that spot. So we tend to go, oh, are they dead? Or, oh, are they dead? And then that's gonna, right, make them go out from here, or wherever from here. And where they go out from has some influence on what level of bardo they're in, but it's going to affect them. So they say, wow, if you're going to be in a situation where somebody's going to touch them and you can be the first one, then touch them on the head, like give them a little rap so that the mind will go, oh, and out the top of your head, because they say that's the best place to go out. Now, I don't know why going out the heart isn't the best place, but they say head. So really, technically, if you ever come across an animal dead on the road and you're going to stop to do something, first thing, touch their head. You're near a person, just wrap them on the head and then check, are you breathing? Annie, I saw you fall. Nobody's going to notice. It's not going to delay you at all. And it just helps that on the off chance that they're dead and are going to get touched by the paramedics or somebody who's going to grab their wrist or their neck or thump them on the chest, right? So it's just one of those things that our tradition suggests that we do. They say don't refrigerate the body, especially when the mind's still in it, because it will have the awareness of the cold and it's likely to send it in the direction of a cold world. Same with heat, right? Don't let it get burnt until you're sure that the mind is gone. And again, it's like in our world, it's like we don't have any control over that. And yet, technically, if you have a situation where there's hospice people, you can say, please, this is really, really important to us. When they're dying, can we just agree to leave them there for maybe even a couple of days? We can sometimes get approval. If not, then you do the touch the head thing, right? And you ask the staff, if you think they're dead, please touch their head. It's important to us. In hospitals, again, it's a little harder, but you can arrange it if you're forward enough to talk about it. If not, there's prayers that we do. And the monks are specially trained in doing them, but we can do them too. That's another story. I don't have time for that right now. So calm environment, that holds for everybody, Dharma practitioner or not. Before they get to that place, let them talk about their regrets, let them talk about their goodnesses, help them do that life review. Ask them, do you want, a priest or a pastor or somebody to come hear your confession. Encourage them to do that. Encourage them to talk about the good things. Encourage them to talk about or just think about the beings and people they love and the ways they've helped other people be happy. If there's nothing else we do for a person towards their end of life, then encourage them to tell us about how they helped others. I'd be like, that's more important than anything else, because it helps their seeds grow for kindness. Rinpoche said, really, that goes for anybody. If someone has their own spiritual path, ask them about it. You know, who do you pray to? Do you pray to Jesus, Mother Mary, you know, Moses? Who do you pray to? And then when you're talking to them, like using their prayers for them, use those. Don't impose your Torah on their Mother Mary. Know that the holy being that they're praying to is as empty as our Torah and is made of love and compassion and wisdom, just the same as our deities are. And we don't need to say, you know, right, your deity can't do anything for you except teach you. Just help them pray. Use their prayers. Right? Give them that comfort. All right. When there's been a violent death, apparently in a violent death, the mind is like shocked out of the body. And yet it isn't in that process of withdrawal. It's like blah, and it doesn't really even know it's dead yet. And so it tends to hang around in familiar spaces. It's not really like a ghost necessarily, but in a violent death, you know, everybody's focused on the body. And not many realize that, you know, that poor mind stream being is hovering around here somewhere, like bewildered about what's just happened. And so rather than getting involved in the fray, let other people do that, hang back and talk to the person in your mind. Look, something terrible has happened, right? You have this opportunity to go on. Look to the light, look for Mary, look for Jesus, whatever, right? Whoever. They're waiting for you. It's good. All is good. You're going to go to love and send them before they actually get stuck where they are. And it doesn't occur to us to do that unless we've heard that they're probably still there. And then it doesn't freak us out when we go, oh my gosh, I see them there, right? I don't see, but some people do. And then you don't know, should I pull them back into the body or what should I do? Just tell them, go to the light. And they'll decide whether it's time for them to go or not. All right. What to do with the body? All right, it's 8 o'clock. I can stop here and finish next week, Sunday, or would you like to go on a little longer? Some of you are up late. What would you like? How much longer? I don't know. Tracy needs to go. Okay, you can listen to the recording. Who else needs to go? Tom can stay. Natalia can stay. All right. So I'll be quick. Except I lost my track. Once the mind has left the body, it really doesn't matter how you dispose of it according to our tradition. Many people care about disposal of the body, in which case, for our own seeds, we would want to follow their wishes. But from their side, they have no connection to that thing, the body, anymore. Right? In our meditation, it's like you don't even recognize it. That vaguely what's that? Who's that? What's that? Right? We're way beyond physical body. If the person has determined that they want their organs to be donated, Buddhism says that's a great thing. To use your body to help others would be fabulous. The difficulty is that in order for the harvesting to happen, it has to be taken from a not dead yet body. So they have to put you on life support. They put your physical body on life support, even though you would be brain dead without it, like you're dead, but your physical body is being pumped full of fluids and air to give them time to harvest whatever they're going to harvest. So then, as our own being, if we decide that's what we want to happen, then hopefully we're well trained enough that we can get ourselves out of the body before they put us on that life support, right? So that we're not in there when they're starting to cut the thing apart and having this wrong perception of what's going on. So it really is one of these trade-offs. It's a great idea, but in terms of the dying process, it kind of fouls us up a bit because it's going to interfere with the smooth transition of that mind, because the body has to be kept alive, but not impossible. Yeah, I guess it would just take special training, and I don't know what that would be quite yet. Then they say, if so, a Buddhist practitioner would not ask for life support measures because it would mean putting somebody in the position of having to decide when to stop that life support. So usually the criteria is, if you're mostly dead and they think that they can help you, they put you on life support to see if your body can respond. And if it does, you come off life support. And if it doesn't, your body will stay on life support because it's on life support. It's not going to kill itself. And so then somebody has to say, okay, don't treat the bladder infection. Don't treat the pneumonia. Let this thing die. Or they have to say, stop the life support, which in our tradition then says, you put somebody in a position to decide to kill your body. Yeah, and you don't want to do that to someone else. So then it's like, well, what if I had been put on life support and I would have gotten better? If I have in my paperwork no life support no matter what, haven't I killed myself? And I don't have an answer, right? That's something we work out on our own to decide, what do we want done? If we're in the position where we can't make our own medical decision. Well, if we're in that position where we can't make our own medical decision, at least in the United States, the paramedics and the emergency rooms are obligated by law to keep you alive, to do all they can to keep you alive. So if we can't say no, they're gonna do everything that they can. There's legal paperwork that you can have prearranged that says, I don't want that this is what I want in this circumstance, this is what I want in that circumstance. But then that paperwork has to be known to your doctors, to your ER, to your paramedics. And of course, they don't know that about you if you're in a car accident, unless you've got it plastered in your car somewhere. And in the US, at least in Arizona, you put it on your refrigerator. And theoretically, the paramedics are supposed to look to this thing on your refrigerator to see whether they're allowed to treat you or not. But then it's like, if you're not going to want treatment, why call the paramedics at all? So maybe you and whoever you live with have this agreement, but it still needs to be put in writing. Because if you end up dead, you've got to call somebody. And then that somebody is obligated to call either your police department or your sheriff's department, because it has to be established that, there wasn't foul play. So this whole thing about end of life, it seems simple when we're just plain dying. But when we're not close to dying, but we could be at any moment, then it's important to have these things thought out and some system already arranged so that your loved ones know what you want or don't want, and you have it somehow posted so that if somebody does call 911 for you, the paramedics would know, right? So there's a form called the 5 Wishes in the United States, which is a legally binding document once it's witnessed and sometimes notarized, that goes through these ideas, and you establish who you would want to be your decision maker, and then you tell that decision maker what decisions to make. And so that decision maker that you choose needs to be someone who will agree to follow your wishes that you've written down on the further pages. So you're not asking somebody, you decide what should happen to me. You're asking somebody, will you follow what I have written here? Right? If the person says, no, I'm going to decide what's good for you, it's like, no, you're not the one. Find somebody else. So that's a whole different class to learn about how we're doing that. But I'm asking all of you, do you have your end of life wishes made known? Do you have it written down somewhere? Is it legal? Like in the state of Arizona, the Attorney General's office has a file that you put your information on their file, and then any hospital, any paramedic can get to it. So I don't know in your own country. I'm guessing there are similar things, Victor and Shayla, Katja, wherever you are, to not leave it up to the powers that be, because the powers that be say, we keep you alive at all costs. And if that's what you want, great. But maybe some of us are closer to not wanting that, in which case we need to have it clarified. Okay. So as we prepare for our own death, worldly preparation, as well as mental, emotional preparation, we are better equipped to help others do the same thing. Yeah, good, Ali. It's an incredible service to the people you love to have that all taken care of, no matter what age you are now. And it requires sitting down with them and saying, this is the information I want you to know. And then they, from their side, help them do it too. Okay, we should all have that. All right. That's enough. So remember that person we wanted to be able to help at the beginning of class. Between the meditation and this guidance about how to help them at their end of life, we have learned a lot. And it's such a great goodness to spend one's time like this, that maybe it is what you'd choose to do if you were dying tonight. And so think of this goodness like an extraordinary glowing gemstone that you can hold in your hands that looks like a little boy. Recall your own precious holy being there with you. See how happy they are with you. Grow your gratitude to them, your reliance upon them. Ask them to please stay close, to continue to guide you and help you. And then offer them this gemstone of goodness. See them accept it and bless it. And they carry it with them right back into your heart. Feel them there, that love, that compassion, that wisdom. They're a being glowing with light. And feel that loving light growing and glowing within you. Filling you so full you can't contain it. And so to share it with others, we redirect it with our intention, sending a big beam of it to that one being, seeing it filling them with loving kindness, sending more beams to everyone you love, seeing it filling all of them with the happiness of being kind, shining more beams from every direction, touching every existing being everywhere, seeing them all suddenly with this insight into how happiness comes from helping others. And may it be so. Okay. Thank you so very much. We're on Thursday. We have class on Sunday, and then not next Thursday, and then Sunday. Okay, I was thinking of, all righty, right. Okay. Thank you, Victor. Stop the recording. Do I want to stop it? Yes. Okay, bye-bye. I love you. Thank you for the opportunity. Have a great weekend. Bye-bye.